All right, folks, welcome back to the new Sentinel. I'm Major Ethan Graves, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Duke Johnson. Today, we're diving into the Supreme Court's June 2025 decision that's got the whole legal world buzzing, limiting nationwide injunctions. Duke, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, roger that, Ethan. So, this was a 6-3 decision, Justice Barrett writing for the majority. Basically, the court said, hey, federal judges, you can't just slap a nationwide injunction on the president's executive orders anymore. That's a big shift. Used to be, one judge in, say, Maryland could freeze a policy for the whole country. Now, not so much.
Right. And the motivation here is all about reinforcing those constitutional boundaries. The court's saying, let's keep the judiciary in its lane and the executive in its own. I mean, we've seen this explosion of broad injunctions over the last few administrations. Obama, Trump, Biden, all of them. It's become a tool for both sides, honestly.
Yeah, and you know, Ethan, this reminds me of a deployment I had in Afghanistan. We had this battalion commander, good guy, but sometimes he'd make a call that'd affect every platoon, even if only one squad was in the thick of it. That's what these nationwide injunctions felt like. One judge, one courtroom, and suddenly the whole country's on hold. That's not how it's supposed to work, at least in my book.
That's a solid analogy, Duke. And the court's basically agreeing with you. They're saying, let's not let one judge in one district dictate national policy for 330 million people. But to be clear, they didn't touch the actual merits of the executive order at the heart of this, just the process. So, the constitutional question is still hanging out there.
Exactly. And look, both parties have griped about this. Obama got blocked, Trump got blocked, Biden got blocked. It's not just a red or blue thing. But now, the pendulum's swinging back. The executive branch gets a little more breathing room, at least for now.
And that's going to have ripple effects not just for immigration, but for all sorts of national policies. We're talking about a fundamental change in how the courts check the president. It's a big deal, even if it sounds procedural on the surface.
All right, so let's get into the meat of it. President Trump's Executive Order 14160. Day one of his second term, he signs this thing aiming to end automatic citizenship for kids born to non-citizen or undocumented parents. That's a direct shot at the 14th Amendment, which for 150 years has said, if you're born here, you're a citizen. Period.
Yeah, and the way this played out is wild. 22 states and a bunch of immigrant rights groups sued to block the order. Federal judges in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Washington issued those nationwide injunctions we just talked about. But after the Supreme Court's ruling, Trump's order goes into effect in 28 states, the ones that didn't sue. The rest, still tied up in court. So, you've got this patchwork where citizenship depends on what state you're born in. That's chaos, man.
It's a mess, no doubt. Hospitals, Social Security offices, immigration agencies, nobody knows what to do. And immigrant communities? They're scared. I mean, you got families in legal limbo, not sure if their kid's a citizen or not. That's not the America I fought for, even if I agree with tightening up the border.
And the legal confusion is just getting started. The Supreme Court didn't say if Trump's order is constitutional, they just said lower courts can't block it nationwide. So, the big question, can a president without Congress change the meaning of the 14th Amendment? That's going to come back to the court, probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you know, Ethan, this is the kind of thing that's going to shape the next generation. If you start carving up citizenship by executive order, what's next? I mean, I get the argument for executive authority, but you got to have some guardrails. Otherwise, you're just asking for a constitutional crisis down the road.
And it's not just a legal fight, it's a political one too. Trump's base sees this as a win, a promise kept. But civil rights groups are mobilizing and progressive states are digging in. We're going to see more lawsuits, more protests, and probably a lot more confusion before this settles out. So, Let's talk about the fallout. You've got states all over the map, some enforcing the order, some fighting it tooth and nail. Civil rights groups are filing class actions, trying to get some kind of uniformity back. But for now, you could have kids who are citizens in one state and not in another. That's unprecedented.
Yeah, and that's where the SWOT analysis comes in. Strengths? The executive branch gets to move fast, and the courts are reined in a bit. Weaknesses? Nobody knows what the law actually is. You got administrative chaos, and the constitutionality is still up in the air. Opportunities? Well, this is going to fire up both sides. Legal challenges, political campaigns, you name it. Threats? Erosion of rights. And honestly, we're looking a little shaky on the world stage. Not a good look for American credibility.
You know, Duke, this reminds me of some of the big constitutional flashpoints in our history. After Dred Scott, after Roe v. Wade, there was this period of legal uncertainty where nobody really knew what the rules were. That's where we are now. The system's being stress-tested, and we're going to see if it holds.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Judicial reform is going to be a hot topic. Do we need to rethink how much power these lower courts have, or do we need to put more checks on the executive? I don't have all the answers, but I know we can't keep lurching from one legal crisis to the next. That's not sustainable.
And as we've seen in past episodes, like when we talked about the digital services tax fight or the shifting battlefield in modern warfare, these legal and political battles don't happen in a vacuum. They ripple out, affecting real people real fast. We'll keep tracking this one as it unfolds.
Yeah, and you know, Ethan, I got a feeling this isn't the last time we'll be talking about the Supreme Court or birthright citizenship. Folks, stay sharp, stay tuned, and don't let the headlines do your thinking for you.
All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining us on the new Sentinel. Duke, always a pleasure, brother.
Back at you, Ethan. Y'all take care out there. We'll catch you next time.